Hello, welcome to my kitchen. I'm Judith. Today I'm going to make clam chowder, specifically Boston or New England clam chowder. You have a couple of choices, several choices actually, for your clams. You can get canned clams, you can get fresh clams from the store, and I am soaking them to get rid of the sand in them. That water's pretty murky now. Or dig them yourself, but you will still have to soak them. And then I am going to steam these to open them and make sure they're happy and healthy, but they all do appear to be. As I always say, you have to be very careful with your seafood, especially shellfish. Dig the clams up yourself if you know a good beach for clams. I'm on the West Coast, and yes, you can go clam digging. Generally, you are going to get little ones. You might find some big ones, but it's going to take you a while and probably really not worth the effort if what you want to make is chowder. If you want to do a pasta dish with fresh clams or grill them on the barbecue, which you can do, and apparently they're very good. I've never tried it. Digging for clams, well, can be a wonderful day out. Get the kids out there and have fun, and you might get enough to make a pot of clam chowder. To get started, we have our clams. Don't forget you need the clam nectar. And for this, because it is the Boston or New England style, I have a liter of fresh milk here from local sources. I have a couple of russet potatoes, onions, and celery. Let's get started. So one of the issues when you're using clams, whether you're using canned or you've harvested them yourself or bought them from the store, is there is sand in them. I mean, I find even when I'm using canned clams, my clam chowder comes out with quite a bit of grit in it. So one thing you want to do is, if they're fresh clams, make sure you soak them in salted water. So let me pull them out here so we can see what's in the bottom. Oh dear. I don't know if you can see that, but there is a lot of floating bits in that bowl. Sand and odd looking things. So I'm going to empty that bowl. And just put those in some fresh water until we're ready to steam them, because I am going to steam them and take them out of the shells. I'm possibly going to put them in the chowder as a garnish with the shells intact. We'll see. But the canned ones, we also want to open up and strain through our strainer. So, and we're going to pour these through a strainer and see what we get. Well, it is so murky I can't see anything. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to set these aside. And we're going to get some cheesecloth and pour that through the cheesecloth and see what we end up with. Several thicknesses of cheesecloth in a strainer, and we're going to pour the liquor that came off of the canned clams through it. And I don't know if you can see what's left in there, but there is quite a lot of grit. And even in the bottom of the bowl that I poured them from, it is rather sandy looking. So maybe I'm going to try to pour them through again. Make another. Just going to fold the cheesecloth over it once again and try to pour them pour the liquor through that. Yeah, there we go. Okay, that doesn't appear to have left anything. So if there's any grit in there, it is so fine I can't see it. It is murky, but then again, even the bottled stuff isn't much clearer. And let's see what our clams did. There does appear to be quite a bit of grit in the bottom of that bowl. So I'm going to rinse these clams to see what happens. Okay, a quick rinse on these guys, and yeah, it didn't look like a lot of grit, but it did look like there was some. And the clams themselves seem to have excuse me, a bit of a very fine, gritty taste. So it may just because they are so small and the grit that they do contain is so fine that it's not going to rinse out, at least not easily. Hopefully I've managed to cure the worst of the grit. Nothing worse than sand in your soup. Alright, now that we have our pot warm, we're going to put in a couple of tablespoons of butter. And I have 3 slices of bacon chopped. Just cut into about half an inch, 1 inch, about half-inch strips. And we're gonna, I did not separate the pieces, so they're gonna be kind of stuck together for a bit here. See if we can get them separated. And I'm doing this on a low-medium heat because we don't want to burn the butter, and we're not trying to crisp the bacon. You could cut the bacon even smaller. I'm just trying to render the fat out. Separated somewhat here. This will add a lot of flavor. If you don't have bacon, you can leave it out. Just put some oil in so that your butter doesn't burn. Perhaps use a lower heat. So we're just going to let that render some fat out and get some good flavor going. We'll give that a couple of minutes. I'm just trying to separate the bacon pieces since I didn't separate them after I cut them up. There we go. And we'll give that a couple of minutes. Alright, our bacon is starting to brown, which isn't too bad as long as we don't get it crispy. So we've gotten a lot of the fat rendered out. We are now going to add our onion. This is 1 large yellow onion, chopped. At least most of it is. And we're going to add our celery, 2 stalks, fairly large stalks of celery, chopped. Stir that around to coat it in the oil. Seriously want a piece of that bacon. See, somehow I managed to leave some of my onion in fairly large hunks, which is not something we wanted to do. let those soften a little bit. And once you've got your vegetables, your onions and celery slightly softened, we are going to add our potatoes. And I prefer to use russet potatoes. Some people use a yellow flesh waxy potato, but russets will help thicken your soup because they will begin to disintegrate. And they are chopped in smallish cubes. I mean, we're not making a stew, so we don't want a chunk of potato in there that's going to fill somebody's mouth if they catch it in their spoon. And we're just going to let the potatoes soften a little and absorb some of the wonderful bacon and butter flavors and onion and everything else. And then we'll be back with adding some liquid. Okay. Now once our potatoes have started to cook a little and they've taken on some of the flavor, we're going to add our clam liquor. That was there's quite a bit of silt in the bottom of that from the canned clam, and this is the bottled clam liquor, which hopefully does not have any silt in it. Although, yeah, the bottom looks pretty gummy. Stir that in. We're going to put in a bay leaf. And 1 cup of water. You just want enough liquid to pretty much cover your vegetables. If the clam liquor was enough to cover them, you don't need to add the water. And we're going to cover it, bring it up to a simmer, and let it cook for 15 minutes until the vegetables are soft. While we're waiting for that to simmer, we are going to steam our fresh clams. So I'm just going to put a little bit of white wine, probably half a cup, maybe a little less. Throw in our clams. Put the lid on, turn the temperature to high, and wait for them to steam. Okay, this does not take very long, a minute or so at the most, and pull the lid off. And you can actually even hear them pop open. There they are. So let's turn the heat off. Now again, we have to check, and anything that didn't open, we throw out. But these look lovely. Looks like they all popped. So we're going to take them off the heat. Oh, those look absolutely lovely. And these will be added. You can shell them. You can actually pluck the lovely little critters out of their shells and add them to the soup, or just pop them on top like that as a garnish. It's your choice. Once your vegetables are softened, like my potatoes are soft now and ready to add, but we have to let it cool a bit before we add the milk, or it's going to not be a good thing. So we're going to get our clams. which have been chilling in the fridge, so that'll help cool it down. And the clams that we just steamed. So our canned and our steamed clams are going in. I'm going to open this lovely bottle of milk. What it says is traceable milk. 2% partly skim milk from a local dairy. Well, actually, it's not local, it's probably a chain. It is good milk. And take that off. We're going to pour our milk in. If you cannot tolerate lactose, I will do the Manhattan version of clam chowder soon, which is a tomato-based version rather than milk-based. That I do love the Boston clam chowder. So now we have to taste it for seasoning. Definitely taste the clam. Definitely needs some salt. And I'm not going to over salt it because although on the East Coast clam chowder is normally served with oyster crackers, we don't really see those here on the West Coast. So we serve them with saltines, which are basically the same cracker, only far saltier. Okay. Oh yeah, that's good. Now we just need to bring it up to warm. If you wanted, you could add some cream to make it creamier. What I am going to add, for anyone that watched my video with the lobster tails, surf and turf video, I made this beautiful lobster spice. And we're going to add a little bit of that, probably about 1/4 teaspoon. Just a little. Oh yeah. And lobster spice is basically salt, garlic powder, smoked paprika, and white pepper. But if you want to know the exact proportions, you'll have to watch the surf and turf video. So now we're just going to warm that up. And then it's dinner time. Or lunchtime. Depends if you got up early in the morning and made it for lunch. This is Boston, or New England, clam chowder. They're both the same. I saved some of the fresh clams just to put in as a garnish. The larger ones I chopped up and put it directly into the soup. Served with plenty of saltines, or if you have access to oyster crackers, that's what this is served with on the East Coast. It's a soup my father loved to make. He also loved to make the Manhattan version, which is tomato-based rather than milk-based. So I will do that one someday soon. It's a wonderful light dinner. Great lunch, especially especially when the winter is starting to fade and spring is coming, but it's still not quite here and you're still a bit chilly out there. A lot of people like it in the summer or early fall. I think it's great any time of year, and homemade is so much better than canned. Thank you for watching. Please give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already. Everything helps with the algorithm. My channel is growing, and I am so pleased and happy, and I thank everyone for all your likes and subscriptions. I will keep bringing you videos. Please let me know what you want to see, and I'll be back again soon with another video. Thank you so much.